Hey guys, we are here talking about Hasbro San Diego Comic-Con booth 2014, and so this ends up being kind of one of the more requested of the videos in preparation for San Diego Comic-Con each year. So we're going to take about 10 minutes here and really go through how the booth works. I know this would have been something that would have been really valuable to me the first year. I battled out that line, which was I think at this point like 7 years ago. But it's a highly competitive arena, and so we're going to take a little bit of time and go through all it takes to get the stuff that you want and just talk a little bit about some of the logistics of everything. So first off, strongly encourage with everything related to San Diego Comic-Con is check everything yourself. So we're basing all the information today on 2013 and moreover the many years before it. A lot of this stuff has been consistent over the years. That being said, every year we literally check all of the stuff ourselves as we first get to Comic-Con. And if we notice any big differences, we'll tweet it out, put it on our own social media and stuff like that. But that being said, for yourself, always make sure you're asking people, am I in the right line? Am I doing the right thing and all of that? So keep that in mind because policies change all the time and they even change over the course of the weekend. So you have to be ready for those things. And there's going to be some things we talk about in this video that are different. It's not like we could just roll out last year's Hasbro booth prep video and just say, we'll watch it again because things have changed last year. And so we'll address some of those as we go along. So first off, just in terms of the psychology of it, I'm not sure where you're coming from in watching this video. A lot of times the people watching these videos are not as familiar with what it takes to get exclusives. If you're a veteran yourself, you probably aren't even watching this video, chances are. And so a lot of times it's people that are, tinker with exclusives. Maybe there's that one, that one My Little Pony that's going to be there, or this one Star Wars figure, they want a Jabba the Hutt this year, things like that. And so one thing really important is just the psychology of battling for exclusives, in particular Hasbro, is you're fighting every bit as much as you would be to get into the Marvel panel in Hall H. It really does require dedication. It may not be quite the same, but even it's getting more that way in terms of sleeping, 14 hours before in line and stuff like that. But you're getting in that line super early, and then moreover, when you're getting into the line, you're fighting people that are there potentially trying to pay their bills off of the exclusives. If you go right now on eBay and look up SDCC 2014 Hasbro, you'll find a ton of things up there that are already selling for huge markups. And one thing about Hasbro that's unique that a lot of the other Comic-Con exclusives don't share is many of their exclusives retain that value or escalate over the years. There's not a lot of things from Hasbro that just plummet the way Maddie has. And so Hasbro is kind of the prize jewel for a lot of collectors there, and it's something to understand going into it. And so if you're not really willing to put in that effort, to put in the extra time to battle out to get whatever those items are that you want, you really want to reconsider even messing with Hasbro at all. And then looking at what it does cost, because we'll talk a little bit more about that in the end about using eBay, but that may be an option for you that's not worth after we get to all the things that are kind of necessary. So first off, one suggestion as you're looking at the booth itself is kind of trying to pick out a day and trying to decide, well, when am I going to try and go get my Hasbro stuff? You have to keep in mind that items sell out not only throughout the weekend, but they have daily allotments that just they'll sell out and then restock during the day. And it's a real balancing act. And it's a little bit of a guessing game, and you never know. On preview night itself, sometimes items will go out of stock for a few minutes and then they'll come back into stock and things like that. So it's a bit of a guessing game there. That being said, we highly suggest staying away on Wednesday night, preview night. On preview night last year, the line was literally capped within 15 to 20 seconds of them saying the hall's open. And we say, well, how did people get there in 15 to 20 seconds? Well, they didn't. Nobody that was a regular attendee was in that line. Everyone was there, had some sort of hookup that they were on the floor early. A lot of them were exhibitor people that had the exhibitor badges and they're in, but I mean, it's nothing to mess with Wednesday night. And it's kind of this thing I've heard a lot of other podcast video guides, things like that, talk about like, well, you just got to really rush to get to the front. It's just really a lie, to be honest. There's just no way Wednesday night's going to work unless you have the inside that you're in there, or somebody's going to help get you in line, or there's obviously the dark arts. That's a whole different story. But in terms of just standing in line as a regular attendee exhibit hall to get in, it's not going to happen. So really, what you're going to be looking at is Thursday or Friday. Saturday gets pretty risky if things selling out. Sunday, you're not even thinking about it at that point. So really Thursday or Friday. So you have to decide, looking at the rest of your schedule, which of those days are you willing to give up to make it all about Hasbro? Because that's very well what could happen is a large chunk of your day will be dedicated to that. For sure, your early morning hours are going to be dedicated towards that. And so if you're wanting to be in Hall H on Thursday or Hall H on Friday or Ballroom 20 or whatever, that's not going to be a Hasbro day. As a lot of people feel like they can kind of do both. It just really doesn't work that way. You've got to have that commitment. And so something to consider there. So in terms of actually getting into line, to make it very clear, we talk about this a lot of times, there's simply 2 halls to get into San Diego Comic-Con really at the end of the day. There's the Hall H line and there's the Everything Else line. And that Everything Else line will feed up into sales, and that's obviously where Hasbro is going to be, that's where Ballroom 20 is going to be, and 6ABC, and all these other rooms, the exhibit hall. So you're going to line up in that major line, which is going to seem a lot longer and scarier if you get there at like 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, stuff like that, because it's for everything. It's Ballroom 20, it's everything. Now again, this could change. We've had situations where security has come out at 6 a.m. and moved people around and said, hey, let me take this group over here. So again, things can change, but as a basic rule of thumb, you have your Hall H line and your Everything Else line. And if we're talking Hasbro, we're in the Everything Else line. You'll feed in, you'll go up the escalator towards sales. Obviously, some people will break left to go to the exhibit hall or to go to Ballroom 20. Others will break right to go to the exhibit hall that way, or behind in sales, which is obviously the Hasbro line. The Hasbro line will snake down from sales, down the stairs, down to the marina, and eventually, you know, many miles away to Tijuana, basically. And so you find the back of that line, you get in, and then you wait there. Now, in waiting there and kind of thinking about times, you know, that's the most common question is, well, what time do I need to be there? And there's no simple answer for that. I always tell people, it's like, how much does this matter to you? I always like to err on the side of being conservative and getting there that much earlier, because I don't want to, if I'm going to dedicate 2 hours and maybe not get something, I'd rather dedicate 3 hours and definitely get it. So I think as we're looking at Hasbro, thinking around a 7 a.m., 6 a.m. target is about as liberal as you want to be, as you really want to focus probably more at that 6, 5, 6 timeline, if you really want to be sure. Again, if not as crazy of a big deal to you, if it's not going to kill you if you don't get that one exclusive, then, you know, again, you can play it a little bit later, try 7, 7:30, 8, and see what happens. Success can be had at any time, so you just really never know. But last year we noticed 7:30, 7:45 seemed to be that cutoff where a lot of people were getting really late times in the day, and a lot of items were being sold out by that point. Once you work your way through the line in sales, around 9 a.m.-ish, what we notice is they start kind of processing you, 8:45, 9. You'll get your golden ticket. Your golden ticket is now a ticket of when you can get in line at the Hasbro booth. So you're waiting to get a ticket to get in line later to actually buy your items. Once you get that ticket, it's going to say, you know, Thursday, 1 p.m. or Friday, 2 p.m. What it now says is basically you can come anytime after that. So you can come back at Friday at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock and get in line and get your items at the actual booth. What's nice is once you have that ticket, though, now you're free to go wherever you want to go. And so we did have the fortunate situation last year and the year before, actually. We were there so early, and Hasbro was processing early enough that we were able to get our ticket and get on the exhibit hall floor right around open. I mean, we weren't in that first wave, but we were still able to pick up a lot of swag and get down there and not have to be stuck in there after the opening of the doors. And so that was nice. Keep in mind, things do sell out as they go. We're going to look at this little list here. And one thing you'll notice, this is the actual Hasbro order form that you'll fill out once you get to the booth. And so on this one, you can see this was picked up on midday Saturday. And so at that point, the G.I. Joes were sold out, the Boba Fett's, they had already pre-marked, kind of crossed out. Gem was gone, the Magic cards were gone. The other things were still available. Unless you see it marked off on the form, it's still available at the show. They only mark the forms when it's like totally gone, no chance of restocking. That being said, everything could be clear here, and you get to the front of the line, and all of a sudden the Deadpool core is sold out, because they'll sell out as the day goes on again, and they'll get a new stock in. And so we've literally been at the counter and something is sold out, and then before our order is fully stacked up, it comes back in stock and we were able to get it. So it's just something to be aware, is, you know, if you're 10 people back and you see the Jabba the Hutt sold out or the Dinobot set is sold out, it doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be sold out when you get to the front. So it's just something to consider as you're there. Now, in looking at the form, what will happen then is you'll fill it out, and basically there will be limits for all the various items. And so it depends what you're shopping for and how many you can get. And that's where sometimes it's like, well, I'm going to go in the Hasbro line, my friend's going to go in Mattel, we both want Boba Fett. Well, it's limit 1. And so that doesn't always work. You know, sometimes you have to orchestrate trades and things. Last year we had a really fortunate deal where one of our good friends, guy over at the Realmcast, George, he wanted 2 of the Transformer. We wanted 2 of the Boba Fett. We both wanted 1 to open, 1 to keep closed. We hooked up. I got him an extra Transformer. He got me an extra Star Wars. We were able to trade them. And so those are things that can happen. And obviously having people there that are friends and acquaintances even, that you can build those relationships, can be really good. And so going into it with with that as a possibility. You're not going to know though what the limits are normally until you hit the floor. So it's hard to plan out in advance and say, well, I'm going to make this deal, you know, a week beforehand. You kind of got to get there and be ready to be on the move of what you're going to get. Now, when you're in line and you're filling out this form, what you'll notice is it's very hard to get through the line and not have about 5 different people ask you to buy things for them and say, oh, can you get me are you going to buy a transformer? Oh, can you get it for me? I'll give you the cash right now. Now, not to be jaded on this, but usually what it is, it's people scalping. And because these have such a high aftermarket value, usually what it is, hey, if you're not gonna max out and get 2 of the Deadpool core, let me get 1 of them and I'll put it on eBay and I'll make money off of it. And so it's up to you whether or not you wanna do that, whether or not you wanna sell it for 20, all those things you have to do them off the Hasbro mat, you know, all the booths that have those types of things that happen where they have highly competitive stuff, they ask you, hey, get off of our carpet, don't be, you know, doing this type of stuff on our carpet. But it can be awkward because you're sitting there and you're filling out your paper and all of a sudden a stranger asks you and say, hey, if I give you $50, will you buy this for me? You know, and so our thing on it is not to be rude, but we take care of our close friends and family, and that's it. We're not personal shoppers for anyone else. So we're taking care of ourselves. If we get anything that we're not going to need down the line or somebody doesn't want, we'll put it on eBay ourselves and sell it that way. But we're not really there to buy for strangers in line. But again, that's totally your call, but just be ready for it. When you get to the front of the line, you have your paper ready, you hand it to them, they're super fast. It's like boom, 2, 3, I mean, it moves really fast. But one thing to be aware, make sure before you've ever gotten down to San Diego that you've let your credit card company know, if you're gonna use a credit card or a debit card, that you're gonna be buying hundreds or thousands of dollars of toys in San Diego in July. Because that happened to us a few years back where we had that situation where we didn't alert them and they're like, what, somebody's buying $700 of G.I. Joes and Star Wars toys, that sounds fake. And we had a whole, you know, situation where they shut our card down. We had to step to the side of the line, call them. You're trying to get reception on the middle of the floor, talking to your bank. Huge amount of stress, huge struggle. So let them know in advance that you're going to be down there so that your card's clear and you don't have any struggles with that. And then lastly on that is just the idea of being in line is it's really good, again, to have partners or people that you can work with. Not just for bathroom breaks or companionship, all very important, but also just carrying stuff. Because a lot of times people forget how big some of these boxes get. And so, for example, last year, if we would have gotten 2 of the Metroplexes, the Transformer things, I mean, these are huge things. You throw on top of that, you know, a couple of the Deadpool or the Black Series, Boba Fett, those things, they're going to be huge things, and you may not even be able to carry them by yourself. And we've seen many people get what I call shipwrecked right next to the Hasbro booth, meaning they've got like 6 bags, and they're stuck there, and they can't go anywhere because they don't trust anybody to watch their bags for them, but they can't move from the spot because they can't carry all the bags. Make sure you have somebody waiting there, ready to go with you. And again, ideally you're in line with somebody so that you guys can work out deals of what you want to get for each other. And just the companionship makes it a lot easier to do that. If you don't have anybody at all, highly suggest this is the time to use social media to start building those relationships. You know, you can always tweet me and I can retweet and stuff like that, but building those relationships, whether it be for trades, whether it be for buying things off of people that, you know, maybe there's only going to be one thing that you want over at the Gentle Giant line, but you're in the Hasbro line, you know, you can get that for somebody and sell it to them and vice versa. But you can build those relationships, or maybe it's just you want a line partner. You know, people are really quick about finding partners to split hotel rooms at Comic-Con, yet they don't think about having a line partner when they're hitting the exclusives. And again, because they are so competitive and because you're really, you know, to a certain extent fighting for your life down there, you really need a partner there if you can at all have it. And so it's something to kind of think about. During the show, I'm always, you know, if I'm able to, and it gets crazy because it gets so many tweets in and stuff, but I'm always happy if you say, hey, I want to, you know, does anybody have a Jabba to trade for a Dino Bots set? You know, I'm always happy to just retweet that and let you guys meet up and talk about that. I've made that offer with like the WB bags every year, and a lot of people take me up on that, but that's something there too. So kind of in closing with Hasbro, it's just a big consideration is now you've heard all this, you've heard all the stuff you need to do, broke it all down. Now it's just a question of how badly do you want the stuff. You know it's going to be marked up. Hasbro really doesn't dip that. I mean, it dips a little bit. Like if we wait 6 months down the line, it's better than buying it like the week of the convention. But that being said, it's not going to have a big dip. So, you know, something like the Death Star big action figure set, you know, pretty consistently went for $300 to $400 and has stayed that way. And I think it was $150 at the show. So, you know, how much was my time worth? How much is the set worth? And that's really the question. For me this year, there's lots of stuff I want. I want the Marvel Legends set. I want the Marvel Universe set. I want the Jabba. I might want the Dinobots, even though I'm not a huge Transformer collector. There's a lot of things I want at the Hasbro booth. And honestly, there's not much I want at any of the other exclusive booths. For So for me, Hasbro is going to be a must. There's no way around it, regardless of the line is their commitment. But for you, you do have to kind of consider how much is your San Diego Comic-Con time worth. So not just time as if you were working and how much you get paid an hour, but knowing that San Diego Comic-Con is a big commitment of money and time, it obviously has a value. And so you do have to consider, is that my time best spent dedicating 4 hours to Hasbro? Or would I rather it be over here because all I want is that one Marvel Universe set, and I'm willing to pay an extra $50 for those 4 hours. You know, if you ask me, $50 for 4 hours is not that bad. And so it's a different story for everybody, and it's just something to kind of consider as you look at that. So that'll wrap us up here on Hasbro. Good luck to all of you. And if you're battling it out at Hasbro, we'll probably see you in line there.